Well, I say this with great anticipation, and I say it because I've been waiting to say it for a very, very long time. We are going to get to come back to church. It was a little lackluster. Maybe my delivery was a little rough. I don't know. No, in all honesty, when I say that, I think that we all have a lot of different feelings about what I just said. If we're honest with ourselves, I think we will say that during this entire process, we've longed to come back, but now that the decision has been made that we can come back, that leads us down another road, which is how do we come back, right? So we know now that it's legal for us to come back to church, but the burden that I immediately felt and the burden that I think many of us feel is that even though it's legal for us to now come back to church, we still have to be responsible. Although it's legal, we are still liable. And I don't mean that in a legal sense. I mean that we are responsible for the safety of the people that come into this church. We carry that burden. I carry that burden with very much concern, to be honest with you. I want to make sure that we all are comfortable when we come back to church. I want to begin by just saying that I don't think that this has to be. I don't think that it will be. And I'm not saying that it already is. But I will say that there is the possibility for this to be a very divisive issue, not just in our church, but all over the world. People are arguing and debating and trying their best to figure out the very best scenario for all of these different openings and closings and all of these things. And I say that because I want you to realize that we must understand that every single one of us has a different opinion about the way that we should handle this entire situation. Everybody within this church may have a different opinion. Everybody within this community may have a different opinion about what our county should do, or our state, or our federal government. I think what I'm really wanting you to understand is that this could be a very divisive thing. But I believe we at Maranatha are a good church. I believe we love the Lord, and I believe we love each other. And I don't believe we're going to let this be a divisive issue. I believe that somehow, some way, and let me identify that way, through the Spirit of the Lord, giving us guidance, wisdom, direction, and also giving us love for each other, I think we're going to come through this just fine. I believe that even though we all may share differences of opinions, I think that we're going to respect each other's opinions. Even though we all may think that perhaps it's not necessary to do this particular thing or that particular thing to come back to church, I think that we're all just going to decide, you know what? I want to come back to church, and I'm not going to let the specifics of that bother me or stop me. So I'm excited. Because even though I think that we all may perhaps share maybe a little bit of a different opinion about how all of this should be handled, I think that Sunday, those of us who choose to come, I think that we're going to come and we're going to be unified. I think that even those who make the decision, rightfully so, that they feel it's safest to stay home, you're going to be unified right along with us. What I really want you to know, Maranatha, is that it doesn't matter how you feel, how I feel, how anyone in this church may feel. We're still brothers and sisters in Christ. We love each other, and we are going to respect each other's opinions. So I want to say, before we begin to talk about any of the procedural stuff of how we're going to come to church, what it's going to look like, how it's going to turn out, before we even really get into that, as a pastor, I want to ask you to do me a very, very big favor. And in fact, I think this would be one of the best things that you could do for me. If you love me, and who wouldn't? I mean, come on, really. I love me. I don't really understand why somebody else wouldn't. But if you love me, I hate to appeal to you in that way. Really just joking. But I do want to say that I'm asking you as your pastor to do me a few favors. And I think that you're willing. Why? Because I think that you, as I said earlier, I believe you want to be a part of this body And I believe you want to be unified, and I believe you want to respect one another. So I'm going to ask you to do me a few things, if I can. First of all, as divisive as this issue can be, I would prefer if all of us would just kind of keep our comments to ourselves. I'm not trying to get all spiritual and biblical on you here, but as you very well know, when we come to church, it's not to discuss politics, it's not to discuss policies, it's not to discuss any of those things, it's to worship God. So I'm not trying to come off here as harsh, and I'm not trying to come off here as demanding something out of you that's unreasonable. And I'm not suggesting that we can never talk about these things in church, but I am asking you, because of the sensitive nature of everything that's going on, and the fact that we all have opinions and that they should be respected, I'm just going to ask you to just try to keep the talk about the coronavirus and the things that are going on, just try to keep that to none at all, in fact. I was going to say minimum, but I would just ask you to just really not talk to folks about it at all. I know that's going to be a little strange and a little difficult because it is the biggest thing going on right now, not only in our church, but in the world for that matter. But if you would just do me one favor, if you make the decision to come, let's decide that we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about how we feel about it. We're not going to talk about our differences of opinion. I want us to focus on the Lord and on our worship when we come here on Sunday. So that may seem like a strange request to you, and if that offends you or bothers you, I just want to say that I'm sorry. But at the same time, I'm making a decision here as our leader, as our pastor, to try to lead us as best as I can into a wonderful, wonderful experience of worship when we get back on Sunday. Because I want to tell you something, I believe that we're going to have a great, great service. I believe that we're going to enjoy and rejoice in the Lord like we've not been able to do in some time. And I don't know about you, but I'm just very excited to be able to come back. And I'm very excited to be able to worship God. So let's get into some of the procedure here. And also, there again, I want you to listen very carefully. I've asked you to have the right attitude as we come here, and I believe that you're going to do that. I know that you will. Not because I ask you to. You're going to do it because it's the right thing to do. So we want to come here with the right attitude. I don't want to go through step 1 and step 2, primarily because I'll forget what step I was on. I do want to just begin by saying the very most important thing is that we want to respect one another's space, okay? If you have been out in public, I'm sure that you've been somewhere, even if you're not afraid of this thing, perhaps you're somebody who's not very frightened by it and you're not taking any precautions at all. You've at least been in that store where somebody just had no concern at all about just creeping up on you and getting all close to you. And even though you might not have been concerned about it, I'm sure it probably at least crossed your mind that, I wish they would mind my space a little bit here. And then there's some of us who have been very, very concerned about it, and perhaps you have taken, very serious measures to protect yourself. And I know that level of anxiety was probably a little more serious for those who are taking measures that may be more extreme than others when you've been to a store and somebody's crept into your space. My point here is that we're brothers and sisters in Christ. We love one another, and so we want to respect each other's opinions, as we stated earlier, and we want to respect each other's space. So as time goes on, we will adapt. We will begin to understand what is acceptable and what's unacceptable. But until that time, we need to set some guidelines, and we're asking you to follow them. So guideline or step number 1 here is, please, no matter where you are on the facility here, no matter where you find yourself, just respect one another's space. Please try to be conscious of one another's space. I think that's one of the most important things we could do, because those who want their space will not feel threatened, and those who aren't as concerned about it will be training themselves to not only think about what they feel, but worry about and concern themselves with what their brother and sister may feel. So I think if we'll just do that for one another, and respect one another's space, I think that'll give us a lot of peace as we come into church. I think we'll feel way more comfortable if we know that our brother and sister is going to look after us as much as we're looking after ourselves. So there again, mind each other's personal space. I want to say I am excited that we have such a large building, because this is going to make this process a lot easier, and I think it's going to make it a lot more effective. So when you first get to church on Sunday, first and foremost, we want you to understand a few things. First of all, there'll be some folks out in the parking lot. You'll recognize them because they'll be part of our standard security team. And those gentlemen are going to instruct you as to when to get out of your car. And I know that that may seem extreme, but our goal here is to stop people from clustering in all at one time, or to stop there from being, to try to decrease the chances of there being congestion anywhere in the process of you coming into church. So when you get here, we're asking you to just hang out there in your car. If you pull up before somebody else, don't get upset if they pick somebody else before they pick you. We're not asking them to find out who made it first, okay? We're just going to ask you to sit there. They'll notice you. And when they do, they're going to ask you, by way of motioning. They're not going to come to your car, but they'll motion for you. And you'll be aware that they're asking you to come on in. And there again, the purpose for this, we just want to make sure that there's not congestion. We want to make sure that there's not a lot of people coming in at one time, things like that. And obviously, you may think, well, if I don't see anybody, there's no reason why I can't just go ahead and make my way there right now. But you don't know. Maybe somebody that needs to walk a little slower. Maybe some of our folks that use walkers or canes or something like that. Perhaps they're still in the lobby trying to make their way through. So just please, I'm asking you, no matter what we may think as an individual, the way's clear, whatever. Let's just allow these folks to guide us, okay? And this will ensure that as people are walking in, they're not going to have to worry about somebody creeping up behind them or coming up on them too quick, and they're not going to feel rushed. All of these things. Which brings me to my next point. Sadly, as much as I've tried to possibly figure out a way around this, you may not get your normal seat. Oh, I know. Just stop the video. You can cry. I know. Just go ahead and stop the video. Cry right now. Get it out. I'm telling you. I know that some of you are going to have to just get that out right here and now. You may not get your regular seat. Please. And I know that I'm joking. I know that no one in this church would seriously weep and cry over not getting their seat. But at the same time, we're human. And we get stuck into certain routines. And I have to be honest. I like my particular seats at particular places. In fact, I even like to sit at the same places when I eat at restaurants. I'm crazy, I know. But anyway, I understand your pain there. And actually, I thought that this may very well be the most difficult thing that we deal with during this entire process is the possibility of us not getting our seat. So if you want to pick your seat, you might consider wanting to get here a little early on Sunday to ensure that you get to pick your seat. So the next part of the process is going to be that when you get out of your vehicles, those gentlemen are going to ask you, are you wearing a mask, and do you intend to wear a mask throughout the entirety of being in the service? If the answer to that question is yes, or in other words, if you have come here with the intentions to wear a mask and to wear a mask the entire time, I want you to know that we have thought this out, and we feel like we've come to a great solution here. We're going to partition the building off into two separate sections. One of them is going to be only for people who are wearing masks. And another part of the building is going to be only for those who have chosen not to wear a mask. You may say, well, aren't those not wearing a mask going to put those that are wearing masks in danger? Well, according to all of the studies and everything that we have heard, as long as there's an appropriate amount of distance between those wearing masks and those not, everything should be okay. So the intention is we're going to partition the center of this sanctuary off. There'll be a big gap between, each side there. And those that are wearing masks will not be on the same side as those who are. And furthermore, they won't even use the same entrance. So if you pull up and you are choosing to wear a mask, those gentlemen are going to motion for you to get out of your vehicle. You will then, indicate that you're wearing a mask and intend to throughout the entirety of the service. You will be directed to come in through the main entrance. And when you come in, you'll be directed to go to the left-hand side of the sanctuary. That's the side that the sound equipment is on. And we're going to have the chairs in clusters of 4 because from the best we can tell, we don't have any households with more than 4 people. here's where some more restrictions come in. You're not going to be allowed to sit with people outside of your household. And I know that you may say, well, this is my son or this is my daughter, and all of those things. Now, what you choose to do, and you know, outside of the church, obviously, is your right. And we're not trying to separate families, but we have thought about this very long and hard, and we feel that if folks are coming here together, then they're already exposing themselves to one another. So therefore, it's safe for them who come as a household to sit together. But if you're not coming as a household, we would recommend that you don't do that and that you kind of stay separated from one another. Now, you know, after church and even before church, what you choose to do personally is entirely up to you. But in the sanctuary, inside the building, we ask that you respect these guidelines. So there again, as you come into the church, the seating is going to be set up in clusters of 4. Each cluster of 4 seats will be separated with a great distance, plenty of enough room to allow you to have your personal space. And there again, when you come in, just you'll pick a seat. It may not be your normal seat, but just pick a seat, sit there. Your bulletins, your tithe envelopes, they're going to be in the seats there with you. You will not have to worry about picking any of that up. The folks who have handled all of that are going to will have sanitized their hands and made sure that they're not, there's no germs on any of those things. Of course, our building is going to be sanitized and cleaned before Sunday very thoroughly. Every surface that would be touched, all of those things. So when you get in, just grab you a seat. You shouldn't have to get up out of your seat for any reason. And there again, I know that it's going to be so tempting to walk around, talk to each other. But hey, I'm loud, so if I really wanted to talk to you, I'm going to yell to you, and you feel free to yell back, and we'll just have a bunch of yelling going on in here, and we can still talk. You know, we don't want you to feel like you have to come to church and not speak or, not associate with each other. But there again, we're just trying to make sure that those who want their personal space are going to receive that. So when you get out of your car, you choose to wear a mask, you're going to be instructed to come into the main entrance. You're going to come to the left-hand side of the sanctuary. You'll find you a cluster of seats. Sit there. And please, we're asking you to just hang out in your particular area there so that, you'll have to sit there a while. But those that are coming in afterward will feel comfortable, and everybody can feel like their space isn't being invaded. So that's my number one priority. I want you to be able to come here and feel like your personal space is being respected. So if you pull up into the church parking lot and they allow you to get out of your vehicle and instruct you to get out, and you choose not to wear a mask during the service, and for the entirety of the time that you're here, we're going to ask you to come in through the side entrance at the nursery, and you will sit on the right-hand side of the building where the kitchen is. And so, and there again, the chairs are going to be in clusters of 4. We're still asking you to do the same things that we're asking those that wear masks to do. But we understand that some folks will not wear a mask, and we don't want to stop those folks from coming to church any more than we want to stop folks that are going to wear masks from coming to church. And since it's not obligatory by law for folks to wear masks, we're just going to leave that option up to you. But we also want to try to provide you an individual space within the building that you're going to be around only people who are wearing masks or not wearing masks. So there again, if you choose to not wear a mask, you'll be coming in the right-hand side of the building at the nursery. You'll find you a group of chairs, and there again, we're asking you to just stay seated and to not mingle around. There's no reason to go into the lobby. There'll be nothing out there. If you need to use the restrooms, this comes to our next point. The restrooms in the main building here are only going to be for those that are wearing masks. And I know that this may present a problem, but we're only going to allow one person at a time into the restrooms. So, you'll be in there by yourself. You'll have the opportunity to wash your hands and clean up. And when you come out of the bathroom, we're going to make sure that someone goes in there and sanitizes the bathroom and make sure that it's clean for the next person. Same applies for those who are not wearing masks. You will be going to the bathrooms in the old building. If you need to use the bathrooms, go out the door that you came in there at that entrance, go down the sidewalk, go through the breezeway there to the other building. There'll be somebody there to make sure you can go to that restroom in the other building. And there again, just make sure that you use all the precautions that you should. You know what to do there. I don't need to tell you what to do in the restroom. So just use all the precautions that you can. So, I know that this is going to seem weird. I've battled with this. What is this going to look like? How are people going to take this? What is going to happen? So there again, we're going to come here with an incredibly supportive attitude of everybody in this room. We're going to respect each other's space, whether we really feel like all of this is necessary or not. We're going to honor this. We're going to come. And when you get into the sanctuary, we'll just enjoy our personal space. We'll sit there throughout the service. There again, if you need to go to the restroom, we're going to have it marked off so you'll kind of know where to stand and wait to get in there. And that person working the restrooms will let you know when it's okay. And same with those not wearing a mask, you'll do the exact same thing. We're going to have church. We're going to sing. We're going to hear preaching. We're going to praise the Lord. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And it's going to be incredible. The final step and the final thing that we'd ask you to do is that when it comes time to leave, when we say amen, when it comes time to leave, we would ask that you wait until someone asks you to leave. The reason for that is same as before. We just want to make sure that things don't get congested. And, there again, maybe in a few weeks we realize that we don't have to be quite so strict, but I think we all realize that if we don't have some kind of order, things will get in disorder, okay? So I know that it may seem strange, but there again, just wait, and these gentlemen will instruct you of when it's good for you to get up and go out. We're not going to receive tithe and offering in the traditional way that we have been. We're not going to be passing plates around. If we were going to do that, we might as well rip off masks and sit right next to each other and hug each other, So we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is we'll have offering plates sitting at each exit and, of course, entrance. So if you choose to put your tithe in when you come in, that's fine. Or you could choose to put your tithe in when you leave. That's okay also. We'll remind you about that on Sunday, that the tithing envelopes and tithing plates and everything will be there at the entrances and exits. And so that's going to be unusual. I've got to admit it. I love the privilege of us taking up offering and being able to put my offering in the offering plate. That's always been a great honor that I feel that I have when I come to church, and I'm saddened that's going to be a little different. But it's okay. These are minor adjustments that we're making for a period of time. These aren't permanent things. This is not the new normal, okay? I don't want anybody to think that this is the way that church is going to be forever. Church is going to be this way until it's decided that it's safe to do it another way, because we're going to make sure that we're safe. But there again, we don't know what this is going to look like on Sunday. There's no way for us to know the personal feelings of each and every person. There's no way for us to understand or know or be able to even quantify in any way how each individual feels. So we're going to start by taking as many precautions as we can, and we're going to see how things go. As time goes on, we may change some of these things. It may look different the next week than what it did this Memorial Day weekend. But one thing is for sure, I think that we can get past all of these things. And I'm just going to say it, I'm very optimistic. I feel like that even though we've got these hurdles that we have as we come in, I feel like we're going to be very well off. I feel like we're going to be blessed by the Lord. I feel like we're going to have great services. And I feel like that God is really going to bless us. There's so many other things that we have that we want to talk to you about. A lot of these things are going to be listed on your bulletin. We wanted to hit the high points about the things that you wouldn't have possibly known about until now. But we just, to reiterate one more time, we're going to respect each other's personal space, which I think is the most important thing that we can do. The church is going to be sanitized. We're going to make sure that no particular area gets a large cluster of people. We're going to make sure that things move smoothly. We don't want people leaving all at once. We don't want people coming in all at once. We don't want people wandering around the sanctuary. The sanctuary will be partitioned off into two sections, those who are wearing masks, those who are not. A few other quick things. If you choose to come wearing a mask, unfortunately, you're going to need to wear it the entire time. It kind of defeats the purpose if you go into that section over there and you decide to take your mask off. That's not going to be proper for all of those around you. And so just there again, remember, think about little things like that. I know that these are tough decisions. I know that this puts us in a strange place here at this church. Nobody feels more awkward about this than I do. But I will say, I think that we're a wonderful group of people. I think that we're going to honor each other, respect each other, and I think that we're going to get through this just great. And furthermore, I think that no matter what any of us as individuals may think, I know that we're going to put our own feelings aside, and we're going to come here, and we're going to worship the Lord, and we are going to respect one another. And I think we're going to get along better perhaps than we ever have because we've missed each other so much. Finally, I'd like to say, I know that it's almost as if all of us would love for somebody to just come down and tell us exactly what to do. Throughout this entire process, I've oftentimes wished that somebody would just come right out and say, do this, don't do that, et cetera, et cetera. So I know many of you are sitting home even right now as you watch this, and you still do not know what to do. Do I go? Do I stay home? This is not a question that I can answer for you. Unfortunately, nobody can answer that question for you. So this is what I would ask you to do. I would ask you first and foremost to understand that the decision to come to church on Sunday is your decision and your decision only. Secondly, I would encourage you to make the decision based on just a few factors. First of all, I would say that if you're the type of person that throughout this process has avoided all contact with other people, you've not been going to stores, you've not been going out, I would actually recommend and suggest to you that perhaps coming to church on Sunday may not be the very best thing for you to do. If you haven't felt safe to do any of that, I can honestly say, as many safeguards as we are taking, I can't guarantee that you're going to feel safe or comfortable here. I want you to come. You know that. But I also want you to come and feel comfortable and not have to worry or concern yourself. So if you've listened to these instructions, if you've heard what we're going to be doing and you still don't feel comfortable with coming, I respect that. And no one in this church is going to think badly of you or anyone for that matter for making the decision to stay home. Maybe you're on the fence. Maybe you think, well, I should go or I shouldn't go. I can't answer any of these things for you. But I would ask you to think about it. I would ask you to pray about it. And furthermore, I would ask you to just do what feels right. I think if you're really racking your brain about this time and time again and over and over and over again, if you're looking for somebody to make the decision for you, maybe I can help you a little. If you don't almost instantly feel pretty good about this, maybe you should wait it out another week. Maybe you should wait another week and see how you feel. Maybe you should give it a little more time. I can assure you of one thing. We're still going to be having church here. And secondly, we still will be putting this out on the internet. We'll still be making sure that you have access to watch it. We may have to skip 1 week or so. So if you miss this weekend, it may be that you just don't get exposure to our services right away. We may have to make them a week behind. There's a lot of different things. We're still learning and we're still getting this down. But what I do want you to know is that you're welcome at this church. I think that you would be as safe here as you would be anywhere else. We've taken all the precautions that we could possibly think of. I'm sure that somebody could come up with more. And I'm sure that there may be someone who would say, we don't need to be taking these precautions. But we love each other. We're going to respect each other. And we're doing the very best that we can. So God bless you. I know this has been long, and it's kind of bad because you're going to have to hear me preach almost twice this weekend, right? I've preached to you this video, and then you'll come to church tomorrow perhaps and be preached to again. I hope it hasn't felt that way. I hope that you've recognized that I love you and that I want what's best for each and every one of you. And I want us to love each other, respect each other, and appreciate each other's opinions. God bless you. Hope that you have an awesome day. And I got to be honest, I hope to see you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.